do you have? Like, oh, well, we don't know, we're going to play an arbitration for our top pitcher in school ball. He gets the $30 million. You go and get Valdez, who's 32 years old, and you pay 3 years, $115. Now you have a legitimate 1-2 punch and still have Flaherty in that lineup as well. If you're looking at a move singularly that I didn't expect to happen here and loved it, Detroit's move to get Framber Valdez, sensational for me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The expectations were big for this team coming into this season. They've struggled to live up to them. When you think about the 4 losses for Purdue, they've really felt ugly. Iowa State smashed this team in their building. They dropped the game to UCLA and followed it up by losing at home to Illinois.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and you know, with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Get ready for a heavy dose of some college and pro basketball as we dive into the latest. We've got a team that is surging toward March and undefeated this season. We'll get to that in a minute. It's also the latest in the NFL from the Scouting Combine. Of course, we will touch on everything happening in the National Football League as well. We got Gilbert McGregor in the house from Phoenix Sports to weigh in on the National Basketball Association. We also have our latest look at the prediction markets today here on the program, and we'll look at maybe if Max Crosby or A.J. Brown in the NFL get traded. Simon Applebaum from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised will be with us. And we'll also preview the World Baseball Classic and the Cognizant Classic. 2 classics, 1 golf, 1 baseball here on the show. That's coming up in the 1 p.m. hour, which is about 57 minutes from now. So stay on the grid for that. All right, let's get started. How about the story in college basketball this season? Miami, Ohio beats Eastern Michigan 74-64 last night. Why is that the top story? Because they are 28-0 on the season. They're the only undefeated team in Division I left. Incredible season for them. The MAC conference is coming up. They'll need 3 more wins to finish a perfect 31-0 in the regular season. Western Michigan, Toledo, and Ohio. Those are the next 3 games. There have been just 20 undefeated teams that have entered the NCAA basketball tournament in the history of college basketball, and just 3 of those have done so this century, just 4 since 1980. Got to start talking about this team as we head toward March. Meanwhile, at the Scouting Combine, the National Football League could be looking at a quarterback carousel yet again. As of right now, Kyler Murray looks to be on the outs with the Cardinals, but who really knows? Because there are new reports that are contradicting the general manager who says that Kyler Murray has not had extensive discussions about what will happen with him in the future. I'll have to stay tuned. Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins, as of right now, have that guy that you see right there, Tua Tagovailoa, under contract. If they release him, it would produce an NFL record $99.2 million dead cap hit. Said this before, and I'll say it again. Doesn't matter. Salary cap goes up. We make a big deal about nothing. But here is the new general manager, John Eric Sullivan, on potentially that move that could say farewell to Tua.
Yeah, so we're evaluating the entire roster, right? As it pertains to Tua, I know that question is coming, so I'll just get ahead of the curve. We've had conversations with Tua and his representation. Everything's on the table, including the potential of a trade. We don't know which way that's going to go. There's a lot of different factors at play, a lot of conversations being had. But evaluating the roster, Quinn did a nice job towards the end of the year. Excited about what's ahead for him. Tua, I thought, even though things didn't go well at the end of the year, did some good things along the way. And it's my job to infuse competition into that room along with every other room as we go down the road.
Lots of rumors about Malik Willis maybe signing with the Dolphins. Green Bay Packers backup quarterback. We'll see. Again, free agency doesn't start for a few weeks. Meanwhile, Sean Payton, elite coach, have to say that, right? In the National Football League, has been calling plays as long as he's been head coach, whether it's been with the Saints or the Broncos. Payton telling reporters yesterday for the first time someone else will do it. In this case, it will be offensive coordinator Davis Webb.
I know that's like, man, are you going to give up play calling? And I would only do that if I felt like it would help our team. I'll still be involved with what we do offensively, just like what we do defensively. But I do think he has a gift. I think he's real sharp. I'm glad he's on our staff. Typically, any decision we make like that is to benefit our team. So I'm looking forward to it. I challenged him in the offseason prior to that preseason game. He did a good job. But I think it'll help us, and certainly I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it was going to help our team win. You get to a point where you're focused strictly on improving your team any way you can.
Meanwhile, in the National Basketball Association last night, kind of a slugfest, honestly, between the Cavs and the Knicks. Cavs were 4.5-point favorites. They end up winning by 15. Donovan Mitchell had 23 points in this game, and obviously Kenny Atkinson happy to just get a win. He can against anybody, but in this case, it could be a team that he sees again in the playoffs.
I mean, it's nice having Evan back. That starting lineup's pretty good defensively. You got Evan, Dean, and J.A. And it's been a great lineup for us historically. So I think that. And then you got Dennis, who we can put on like Brunson. So, got Dean, a big guy that can guard him. Then the changeup is kind of putting Dennis with the full court pressure. So, most of the time this is personnel. We've added two really good defenders in Dennis and Keon. I think that helps.
We weren't good. Tonight was probably one of the first nights in a while that I didn't think we were on a string defensively, meaning that when the ball moved, all five guys moved, and they made us pay for it. So tough loss, ugly game overall, and we got to get back and figure out what we need to do to get a win on Friday.
Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics take care of business last night against the Phoenix Suns, 97-81. Celtics were 5.5-point favorites. Derek White had 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Now, in the game last night that went down to the wire, some funny comments were made after the game on this one. First of all, the Magic, they end up beating the Lakers 110-109, and the Lakers were 6.5-point favorites. Wendell Carter had the game winner. Now, Luka Doncic had a chance to win it at the end of the game, but he passed the ball to LeBron, who didn't knock down a three. And LeBron, after the game, said, well, I thought Luka was going to take the shot. But first, let's hear from Jamal Mosley, and then we'll hear from J.J. Redick on what transpired.
I thought the group did a tremendous job of not letting shot making or missing impact our defense. Obviously, we had some mistakes during this game, but our guys stayed the course the entire game. And, our guys being able to step up big. Paolo was gigantic for us tonight. His shot making, his play making, him rebounding the basketball, those were big plays for us tonight. Guys just found ways to have winning plays throughout this game.
You go into this game, with their size and their strength, it's going to be a rock fight, and we lose the scoring opportunity by 8 in a 1-point game. That's the game. We had more turnovers than them, and they got more offensive rebounds than us.
No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last night. No Jalen Williams. Doesn't matter. Thunder win again, 116-107 over the Toronto Raptors. OKC 1.5-point favorites. Cason Wallace had 27 points in the game last night. As I mentioned, in college basketball, number 21 Miami, Ohio, they win again, 74-64. They're undefeated heading into the final 3 games of the season and then the conference tournament. Caleb Foster had the big game for Duke last night. They crushed Notre Dame 100-56, although Cam Boozer did have 24 points and 13 rebounds in this one. But head coach John Shire in the blowout went out of his way to give props to Foster.
Both these guys to my left and right, obviously Caleb, got us off to a really good start, hit a couple threes. His defense throughout, I look at the decision making. I think that was big for us tonight. And then, this guy just, he's doing everything. Assists, rebounds, scoring it, taking care of the ball, fouling. He's we can't have that happening. But listen, really proud of this win. We're going to enjoy this tonight. Know there's a lot more we can do and have to do, and keep learning and keep growing.
Meanwhile, also in college basketball last night, Arizona seems to be back on track. They win 87-80 over Baylor. They're the number 2 ranked team in the country. They were 7.5-point favorites in that game. Also, as the National Hockey League gets set to start back up after Team USA won the gold over Team Canada, Sidney Crosby, future Hall of Famer, injured in the Olympics, is not going to play for approximately a month when play resumes for the Penguins. All right, coming up next, Gilbert McGregor will join us here on the show. We'll weigh in on the National Basketball Association, see what he thinks of the Suns falling last night, and also the Cavs and Knicks, and preview the games tonight if we have some time. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid, midweek edition, and we'll be back with plenty more right after these quick messages. So as they say, stay on the grid. We'll be right back.
You have we don't know we're going to play an arbitration for our top pitcher in school ball. He gets the $30 million. You go and get Valdez, who's 32 years old, and you pay 3 years, $115. Now you have a legitimate 1-2 punch and still have Flaherty in that lineup as well. If you're looking at a move singularly that I didn't expect to happen here and loved it, Detroit's move to get Framber Valdez, sensational for me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Expectations were big for this team coming into this season. They've struggled to live up to them. When you think about the 4 losses for Purdue, they've really felt ugly. Iowa State smashed this team in their building. They dropped the game to UCLA and followed it up by losing at home to Illinois.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always fun to catch up with Gilbert McGregor on the National Basketball Association. Not going to be in a great mood. The team that he covers fell last night. We'll get to that here in a minute. But first, let's get to the rest of the National Basketball Association. Gilbert, once again, always appreciate the time that you give us here on the show. And certainly if you follow the NBA, you should follow Gilbert on social media and also his coverage of the Suns for Phoenix Sports. Okay, so the Cavs beat the Knicks last night, 109-94. Not a ton of offensive standouts here. The Knicks put up 94 points in this game, so I don't know that there's a ton of takeaways here, except for I guess, Gilbert, the fact is that since the James Harden trade, last 2 weeks, last 2.5 weeks, have certainly gone pretty much in favor of the Cavs almost every night out.
Absolutely, Craig. I think that's the big takeaway from this. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell is the guy who's going to get the headlines, and I think that's the thing that should give Cavs fans and people who believe in the Cavs some confidence. James Harden can step in and be that second guy. We've never seen him get to the finals as the guy, and he's older than he once was, but I think that this move will extend his career, but also make the lives of those around him easier. So make Donovan Mitchell's life easier. Evan Mobley, we're seeing great play from Jared Allen, all because of James Harden being there. And I also think that the fact that he's available and Darius Garland, who he replaced, has not been available for the most part of this season and a lot last year in the postseason as well. So having somebody available, having one of the greatest of all time to play and having less pressure on him is going to be big for this Cleveland team. And I think that having a bigger backcourt now with James Harden also makes them better for teams like the Knicks, who have a Jalen Brunson in the backcourt, who has a little bit more difficult time dealing with that backcourt now that they have more size in it. So clearly it's been a good move for the Cavaliers. The big question is what it's going to mean for them in the postseason, but so far so good in Cleveland.
Really, that's what it's about at this point in the NBA. A month to go until we get to the playoffs. Although Kenny Atkinson did say last night getting Evan Mobley back was big for him. Another player will have to see how he works into the lineup. All right, so the game that Gilbert was closely watching last night could probably give us play-by-play if we needed, but I don't think he wants to. Celtics beat the Suns 97-81, and Derek White had 22 points. The Celtics are playing like the best team in the East right now, and the team that you follow closely put up an 81. I mean, you just don't see that often in the NBA. So what happened last night?
It's a continuing offensive struggles for the Phoenix Suns. They only scored 77 points on Sunday. So yesterday was at least an improvement from that. But the fact that they don't have Dylan Brooks, don't have Devin Booker, Jordan Goodwin, and Haywood Highsmith out of the lineup is doing a lot of bad things for this Suns offense. But the Celtics are a good team. They were without Jaylen Brown last night, and Peyton Pritchard had a stinker, especially by his standards as of late, but it didn't matter because Derek White played really well, as you saw by the numbers, and they had a lot of guys step up. They created a lot of extra possessions with their offensive rebounding. Sam Hauser got hot from beyond the arc, and this is a Celtics team that people should not sleep on at this point. They're second in the Eastern Conference, and they're kind of firmly establishing themselves in second in the Eastern Conference, and they have the fourth best record in the NBA. And who knows? Jason Tatum has a documentary about coming back from injury. I don't know if that means he might come back from injury, but we are about 10 months out from his Achilles injury at this point. And if this team has a legitimate chance to make it out of the Eastern Conference, I don't know if he passes up an opportunity to win another NBA championship because the East is wide open. And as we know, if you get to the finals, anything can happen. But very impressed by this Boston Celtics team and the fact that they continue to find ways to win, even when they fail to score 100 points and they don't have Jaylen Brown.
And I would say for Boston in particular, the confidence level that you would have to have Boston in at least the second round would be very high. If you look at their odds to win the East, Boston's plus 330. They're 38-19 on the season. And their matchup would be potentially against Philadelphia or Orlando. I mean, those teams are okay, but you would not expect them to beat Boston in any series. I could see 1 through 5 winning a series, but man, with the way the Philly's going with the injuries, the Magic have been inconsistent. I would assume if Tatum came back that second round, that could make a big impact. All right, let's get to the end of the Magic and Lakers last night. Of course, it's the Lakers. That's what everybody's talking about. Nobody gives any credit to the other team, right? The Magic play a great game. They win. But it's what happened at the end of the game. A very rare LeBron wondering what happened when Luka Doncic had the ball with a chance to win it, tossed it to LeBron. LeBron missed the shot. Here are the comments after the game, Gilbert.
No, we executed. Like I said, I feel like I'm not sure. I mean, obviously you have to ask Luka what he saw on that, but I thought he had a good look, and it looked like he kind of just lost his balance, didn't have a rhythm with the ball, whatever the case may be. And it kind of allowed him to get back in front of him. I was kind of off balance when he gave it to me. I thought he had a great look, but that's what I looked. That's my POV.
What did you see on the last possession there coming out of the timeout?
I know I was open, but I just thought I was a little bit far. Try to take one dribble closer. Probably shouldn't picked up the ball. Just try to attack.
Did you and LeBron have any communication about the final play after it was over? When you passed it to him, did you think he had a shot, or did you recognize that it was kind of be a tough opportunity?
I mean, I just saw him open. I didn't want to lose the ball, and we didn't have timeouts, But like I said, shouldn't have picked up the ball. I should have attacked. I thought I was getting a clean look, but that's on me.
Talking head world, let's try and make something out of nothing. That's what it seems like here, honestly, Gil. I know
Interesting
that the
to hear
talking
that.
heads are gonna. I mean, I understand that, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, it looks like Luka just gave the ball. He thought LeBron had a better shot, probably deferring to the future Hall of Famer. We'll make a big deal of this. Is it anything more than that here? I mean, I understand we got to do it here, but I listened to those sound bites here, and it doesn't seem like anybody's upset.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything more than poor execution. And I think the bigger issue is that they blew a lead against the Magic, and they were at home, and the Magic kept climbing away, and Desmond Bain had a big fourth quarter, and they gave up a couple offensive rebounds for the Magic to take the lead late. But watching that play unfold in real time, it looked like Luka Doncic had a really good shot, and it's kind of funny to hear him say he was too far away from the basket because we've known him to pull up from the logo at times. So that one's a head scratcher. I think that it'll be something for them to kind of come back around. They will be here in Phoenix to play tomorrow night, so it'll be a big opportunity for both teams to try to bounce back.
Let's do a quick game here. Detroit's a big favorite tonight against Oklahoma City. I'm assuming, even though they're saying SGA and Williams are coming back soon, it can't be tonight with Detroit being 7-point favorites, total 219.5. Can OKC stay in this game, maybe even win? Seems like they do it every night.
I think Detroit wins, but I like OKC to cover in this one. Nobody does the next man up mentality better than the Thunder have this season.
Everybody off the bench performing for the Thunder. All right, Gilbert, great performance here on the show. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming on.
Much appreciated always. Thanks, Craig.
Right back.
You have we don't know we're going to play an arbitration for our top pitcher in school ball. He gets the $30 million. You go and get Valdez, who's 32 years old, and you pay 3 years, $115. Now you have a legitimate 1-2 punch and still have Flaherty in that lineup as well. If you're looking at a move singularly that I didn't expect to happen here and loved it, Detroit's move to get Framber Valdez, sensational for me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Expectations were big for this team coming into this season. They've struggled to live up to them. When you think about the 4 losses for Purdue, they've really felt ugly. Iowa State smashed this team in their building. They dropped the game to UCLA and followed it up by losing at home to Illinois.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still a James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The NFL Combine off to a roaring start, starting to get some news and even some rumors going on with some potential players in the National Football League. So we thought it would be a good idea to check in with our buddies, Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri, as they take a look at the prediction markets on a couple of different players. In particular, their focus is Raiders Max Crosby, Eagles A.J. Brown, and maybe their potential next teams in the National Football League. Take a listen.
Predictive marketplaces, Joe, we love them. Kalshi and also Polymarket, investing in interesting stuff where maybe you can't find this, Joe, on FanDuel and or DraftKings, Bet365, or some of those other legal sports books out here. But the questions in the offseason continue to arise. And we saw at the end of last year, the Vegas Raiders saying, you know what, Max Crosby, we're trying to tank for draft position here. We're going to shut you down. And Max Crosby's like, I don't want to be shut down. I want to play. My job is to be the best defensive end in this league, and you pay me to play on a week-to-week basis. And they go, we don't care. We own your rights. We're going to shut you down. So now a lot of offseason talk. Will Max Crosby still be a Vegas Raider, or will he be on the move? If you look at Kalshi right now, a 66% chance he stays with Vegas or retires. Coming in second here, the Cincinnati Bengals at 31%. The Bengals want to take on that contract here, Joe? I don't buy it. And it's hard to move a guy that just got paid all that money, too. Where are we going with this Max Crosby thing?
I don't understand Cincinnati. Like, you have a guy called Trey Hendrickson. That's just as good.
Yeah.
If you're going to take on that, pay him. I just do not understand what's going on with that. Listen, the new regime coming in with the Raiders there. The head coach, the first guy that he met with there, as soon as he ends up, winning the Super Bowl there, Kubiak, the first person he wanted to meet with Max Crosby. So we'll see how this goes, but I think a line has been drawn in the sand here, and you're either going to have to pay this guy or you're going to have to figure out a way to get him out of Dodge, and then who's going to trade for him? I think the suitors, there are a ton of them, Donnie. I just don't see Cincinnati being one of them.
And it's hard, too, because you saw the Micah Parsons deal, so that framework will be around there. Micah Parsons is a better player than Max Crosby, even though Micah Parsons ended up getting injured there with Green Bay. But if he wasn't, now Max, what do you want, a first and a third? And then also, you're probably going to have to give him a new contract, which he already has a massive contract at this point. So it's not just like apples to apples. Like, hey, we'd all love that Max Crosby. A lot of compensation given up in the way of draft and a lot of compensation coming back to Max Crosby here. We'll see what works. The one thing where it's not going to equate the wins or losses in Vegas, and I always thought when he re-signed back, it's like, you're just signing yourself up to make a lot of money and just have a bad football team. We'll see if it goes differently in that point here. Now, another player that we're going to talk about in the NFL, which last year, not so happy, reading books on the sideline here, didn't get the ball enough. That's A.J. Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, he comes in here. His next team, the Philadelphia Eagles, or retires, it's listed at 69%. The highest team behind him is the New England Patriots. We always hear there's smoke, there's fire. Vrabel loved him in Tennessee, was furious when they traded him away to Philadelphia, now might want him back. But also, the same way we talk about Max Crosby, sure, teams would like to have A.J. Brown. If A.J. wasn't happening to the Eagles, maybe they trade him for a first-round pick. But also the Eagles continue to be in the window of a Super Bowl championship where they might be able to win it, take a $40+ million cap hit, lose a player, not get equal compensation back. I don't know if he moves. I think he stays in Philadelphia, Joe, and I'd be willing to invest into the yes, which is trading at 67 cents here. A $100 wager pays back $150. I don't think he's leaving, not because he doesn't want to or the Eagles want to move on, Joe, but just for the simple fact is they can't actually afford to have him move on.
Yeah, and they've been very non-committal on him returning. Yeah. They're not guaranteeing that he is coming back or they're not letting him go or anything along those lines. So, Howie Roseman and company there, we've heard about trade rumors now for how long, Donnie, right? So, but he's signed through 2029, $96 million extension in 2024. Again, there's only a handful of teams that would be willing to take on that or can take on that kind of commitment here. But Philadelphia is very non-committal about bringing him back here, which is crazy.
Which is actually the complaint now that you're hearing, because they're asking, the combine's out here. Hey, Nick Sirianni, what do you think? Well, we can't guarantee he's back on the roster. You can actually guarantee it, even if you don't mean it, just to try to quell those rumors in hopes that he does come back. So when you hear them saying, well, we can't guarantee anything, well, ask about Jalen Hurts. Hey, is Jalen Hurts going to be on your roster next year? Of course he is. They're starting. Okay, but you can't guarantee other players will be back on that roster. Make it make sense? Sometimes it doesn't here. NBA MVP on Polymarket here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trading at a 56% chance, followed by Jokic and Cade Cunningham at 16%. You saw that chart, Joe, that was out yesterday. Expectations are SGA, Nikola Jokic won't have enough games under their belt to actually qualify, so maybe you should go with Cade Cunningham. But trust me, when you're trying to win an MVP, you'll play extra games down the stretch if you can for guys like SGA and Jokic. Interesting finish to the season, Joe. Who for you should be the NBA MVP that you want to invest your money in?
I think the guy that stands to benefit from all of it is Cade Cunningham. I think that a lot of these other guys may not have enough games under the belt to qualify for it.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
One check, one stroke of a pen, $43 million that you now have to spend in free agency. Ain't it fun?
Yeah, you take the money out of the left pocket, you put it in the right pocket, basically, Donnie. But you also free up the ability to be able to sign other players. Nobody did this better than the Patriots and Tom Brady in his career, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
George Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Sam McQuillan in the house from Legal Sports Report as we go over the very latest on sports betting and prediction markets. It's been a hot topic once again for us this year. For those of you unfamiliar, prediction markets launched in sports over the last couple of years, and there's just a lot of legalese going on right now to see if these folks are going to be able to stay around and operate, and if they're a big part of our broadcasting and financial future, to be honest. All right, Sam is with us here. All right, so Sam, a lot of the reporting that you've done over at Legal Sports Report seemingly indicating states fighting off prediction markets to make them pay taxes, to make them join the rest of the sports betting operations, and winning a lot. But I see here the state of Tennessee may be one of the first that could be going the other way in favor of the prediction market. Tell us more.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Craig, there's about 10 different lawsuits playing out between states and prediction market companies like Kalshi and Polymarket. And again, like you mentioned, mainly trying to get these companies what they are offering, these financial investing services that are on the back of sports pretty much, trying to get those on the same page as their licensed sports betting partners. You know, the states legalize sports betting for a reason. They have licensing processes. They have this robust paperwork and, reporting that you have to do with the state commission, with, all this support system to keep game integrity, to make sure people are betting at the proper age. Right now, prediction markets really are not subject to that. So that's why Tennessee is, one of several states that's suing to get them to become subject to that. They sent a cease and desist order to Kalshi, which has resulted in this lawsuit that's now playing out. And the biggest development here is this week, a federal judge in Tennessee ruled in Kalshi's favor, granting them a preliminary injunction. So what this does basically is it's a temporary win for Kalshi. It means Kalshi can keep operating in the state of Tennessee while the lawsuit continues to play out. They haven't had, all the proceedings, the legal proceedings play out in this lawsuit so far. It's still ongoing. We don't know exactly when it might be settled. Like you mentioned, there's a number of other lawsuits where judges have ruled kind of in the opposite. In Nevada, they did not grant Kalshi's preliminary injunction. Basically, the arguments Kalshi's made here is to offer sports betting or sports prediction markets rather, like Tennessee is asking, it would have to change its platform where it is only offering a Tennessee exchange different from its entire other business, which Kalshi has argued, would damage it materially. Interestingly enough, the court also ruled that federal law likely overrides state law, which is kind of the big issue here is, are these contracts allowed under federal derivatives law, or are they, stepping on or encroaching on state sports betting law? It's quickly boiled into a states' rights versus federal issue, with a lot of folks asking the CFTC to provide clarity. It obviously comes, last week we talked about the CFTC talking about they're going to really defend these lawsuits and the right of federal law in this whole oversight versus state law. So bottom line is, it's a small win for Kalshi to keep operating in Tennessee, but down the road, when we talk about the Supreme Court, maybe other appellate courts where the fate of whether prediction markets are indeed sports betting or not ultimately is decided, we'll be looking back to these decisions made earlier in these cases. Again, Nevada and New Jersey kind of ruled the opposite, Tennessee ruling a different way. So it just goes to show you how kind of mixed the whole bag is here and how much uncertainty persists and kind of how much more time there is before we get a real resolution. But certainly an interesting development in Tennessee, and we'll keep watching what happens in the myriad of other states as well.
We thought that there was some sports pushback. How about this one? I didn't see this one coming. You read the story, by the way, Legal Sports reports, the CFTC, Sam, seemingly, and again, I don't mean to make light of this, but, you've heard about folks doing dead pools before, trying to predict when, celebrities would pass away. I thought that was kind of morbid, but let's not deny it goes on across the country. The CFTC does not want these prediction markets being involved in harm or death. That makes sense, but I don't know. It seems like the prediction markets are pushing back on everything. Are they going to push back here?
Yeah, getting back to the core issue of prediction markets is there's really no one regulating it right now. The CFTC is supposed to, but the CFTC is historically understaffed. It's probably has even less staff than we know about and underfunded certainly. And the argument here for the folks who want regulation is, hey, the federal regulator really is not the federal regulator because there's no one there. So one of the main issues is these prediction markets can just offer contracts on seemingly whatever they want by self-certifying. We talked about a few months ago the issue the NCAA had with Kalshi moving towards offering an event contract market on the decision of transfer portals or college transfer decisions, which is supposed to be explicitly prohibited. Now, death is also supposed to be something you're not allowed to financially invest in on the outcome, or for that matter, you can't bet on it at a casino or on a sports book for obvious reasons. But 6 Democratic senators this week wrote a letter to the CFTC asking that they really clarify what those rules are with death contracts. They cited the NASA Artemis 2 mission. You could bet on the outcome of that mission being a failure. So senators kind of, worried, are we betting on astronauts dying? They mentioned the Russia-Ukraine conflict where you can bet on the outcome. So are you betting on technically war there? And they also mentioned Nicolas Maduro, who was ousted, famously very recently in Venezuela. And are you betting on, if you're betting on him to be ousted, are you betting on him to be assassinated? What are the outcomes? How are those contingent upon life and death? Quite explicitly, the Commodities Exchange Act states that you can't bet on terrorism or you can't invest in assassination or war. So there are categories that are explicitly prohibited, but because some of these markets can be decided by a death or a fate or a terrorism act or something, these senators basically want clarity from the CFTC. Now, the CFTC has largely not really done anything with prediction markets, which have just boomed over the past year. Their volume has gone up like 100 times since the year before, mainly on the back of sports. But recently, the CFTC did come out and say it's going to, issue new rules. So this could be something that they take into account in that process. Certainly no mention of sports, but again, because this is really transforming the way we talk about sports betting and just gambling law in general, it definitely relates. And it's definitely just more of Congress kind of scrutinizing this growing sector, which obviously more and more pushback is coming, but these lawsuits have to play out and we have to see what else happens. I'm sure this isn't kind of the last controversial thing we talk about with prediction markets, that's for sure.
Probably not even the last this week when we check back with Sam on Friday. Okay. So in terms of sports betting, our story today is on Wisconsin. It seems like from what I'm reading here, Sam, there could be sports headed their way. The tricky part here is it does involve the tribal entities, which of course I'm familiar with here in Florida as well. Maybe it's something similar.
Yeah, Wisconsin is a very similar market to Florida, Craig. It's in-person sports betting is legal with the tribe. So in Florida, they got to the point where they were able to keep sports betting and expand it by having online servers for online sports betting on tribal land. It's kind of the workaround a lot of states have done. That's what Wisconsin is proposing here as well. The state assembly actually passed a bill this week, which would allow 11 state tribes to create servers on their land that host online sports betting, partnering with apps, essentially allowing up to 11 sports betting apps to come in the state. The session actually ends March 19th, though, so they're running out of time quickly to pass the bill. It's already passed the Assembly. It needs to be heard in the Senate. It does have the support of Governor Tony Evers, who's backing it, and the tribes seem to be on board as well, as obviously it would give them most of the power. But there's still some Republicans in Congress that are a little wary of commercial operators not being included. Obviously, the FanDuels, DraftKings, BetMGMs of the world have a lot of lobbying influence with the states. And, prediction markets have really changed the game in terms of them not getting a cut of sports betting that's happening legally on those lands. So I imagine that'll probably be a factor here as well. But Wisconsin, one of the few states this year where we could see betting go from in-person to expanding online. We'll have to see.
And great stuff as always. We'll check back Friday. I'm sure we'll have a new prediction markets discussion. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. You too.
Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. Up next from the podcast tomorrow will be televised is Simon Applebaum for his view ratings Winter Olympics. Get back.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
One check, one stroke of a pen, $43 million that you now have to spend in free agency. Ain't it fun?
Yeah, you take the money out of the left pocket, you put it in the right pocket, basically, Donnie. But you also free up the ability to be able to sign other players. Nobody did this better than the Patriots and Tom Brady in his career, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
George Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on three like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire. Simon Applebaum is in the house. Tomorrow will be televised, is his podcast. I'm sure he'll have a lot to discuss. The postscript of the Winter Olympics as he joins us now here on the show, Simon. And certainly, I think the world, the universe was locked into that hockey game, the last one. And the ratings are in. And, look, I don't know how they did otherwise, but I'm going to consider that to be the biggest boost that the Olympics has ever had going into the final day.
It certainly was, Craig, and good to be with you. And it wasn't just not only the men's hockey game, the women's hockey game, the women's figure skating final with the U.S. coming out on top with the gold, Michaela Schifrin winning her final gold medal in skiing, the 41-year-old U.S. Olympian raising 2 deaf kids, winning in the monobob. Basically, it was the U.S. team coming to bat finally and showing their stuff in the last week of the Olympics. When we were here a week ago, it looked like the Winter Olympic coverage on NBC, Peacock, USA, and CNBC was going to be in free fall. Tuesday night, the average viewership among all the channels was 20 million. It was threatening to go down because of where the USA was at. A week ago, the USA was actually tied for third in gold medals with several other nations with 6. And then it all went together, and it turned out that the numbers did go up. We didn't see the free fall. The average viewership for the entire Winter Olympics on the various networks of NBC Universal, 23.5 million. The men's hockey game, by the way, 18.6 million people saw it live on either USA, Peacock, or NBC. The women's game, by the way, had 5.5 million people watching live on USA Network and Peacock. By the way, Kenny Albert, I think, will cinch up a Sports Emmy nomination next year. His play-by-play of the hockey, both men's and women's, was sensational. And Mike Tirico, I think, has got locked up a Sports Emmy for Best Host next year for what he's done, not only with the Winter Olympic Games, but also the NBA All-Star Game and the Super Bowl. Kudos to Molly Solomon and Gary Zenkel and their whole Olympic production team. They really showed you a whole new way to watch the games. The drone camera work on skiing, on luge, on bobsled, on other sports, even on the hockey indoor arena was really terrific. Lee Diffie, by the way, was marvelous on bobsled, on luge. His infection and enthusiasm for all the athletes in those sports was terrific. Kudos to NBC Universal. They did a marvelous, marvelous job. And already they are harking the horn about LA 2028, 2.5 years from now. According to NBC press release that came out to their advertising people by email, there have been 5,000 internet searches for what's going to be happening with LA 2028. It really was an amazing Olympics, and kudos to everybody involved. Also, kudos to the host nation, Italy. They put on a great games, and thank God the International Olympic Committee, which is the worst sports organization in the world, they proved it with a Friday press conference with a new president who didn't know what the heck to answer questions and threw her PR people on the bus. Despite them, the host nation did a marvelous job staging the games.
Yeah, and certainly Italy did a nice job in the medal count, too, picking up 30. Norway was the winner with a total of 41, followed by USA, Netherlands, Italy, and Germany. We'll see them all in 2028 at the next Olympic Games, the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. All right, Simon, so very big landscape change coming in Major League Baseball. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, a staple in a lot of homes for many, many years, is no longer. And they've had to make some very big decisions as far as broadcasting is concerned. We know that NBC has picked up a baseball contract, so has Netflix to some degree. So what is the thinking here with ESPN, and how are they going to try and still lock in viewers when they've had Sunday Night Baseball and now something completely different?
Well, Craig, they're going to do it in 2 ways. The first way is they're going to make 9 weeks of that summer run women's sports. They're going to do what's called Women's Sports Sunday, which is 9 weeks of 12 games, either WNBA or National Women's Soccer League, with pre- and post-game and intermission programming. And they're sort of calling it a premium sports experience for women. And they also want to try to make this not just a women's deal, but a general audience deal. Remember, ESPN did very well in the last year or so when they decided we're going to put women's college basketball on Sunday afternoons when people know where they can watch it. And that's what they want to do here, apply the same strategy. If you put women's sports on at a time when they can watch, in this case, primetime Sunday nights, they look like they're going to get an audience. Incidentally, it looks like the Bern Tarasi show, the alternate cast that was done on WNBA games with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, both of whom now retired after their WNBA careers. It looks like that is done after 6 years. Looks like ESPN is going to revise their alternate telecast format and do something new for their WNBA coverage, particularly during the playoffs. And that's not all. It looks like also ESPN is doubling down on another possible Sunday night attraction, Banana Ball with the Savannah Bananas. They announced yesterday that they're going to do 30 to 40 games of Banana Ball, which will be under a new 6-team league. So it'll be the Savannah Bananas, the Party Animals, the Firefighters, and 3 other teams, and they'll be playing mostly on ESPN. The games will be running on Disney Plus. They'll be simulcast on ESPN's Unlimited, what I call the mega content service. Some games will run on the ESPN family of networks, ESPN, ESPN2, and so forth. And at least they'll have 1 or 2 games on ABC, including 1 possibly exclusive. So it looks like that's what their strategy is for summer Sundays beyond baseball. Women's Sports Sunday for 9 straight weeks, and then fill the rest of it out with Banana Ball and maybe some other things too.
All right, Simon, let's wrap up with the announcement coming from the Atlanta Braves, and a story that certainly I'm familiar with, doing broadcasts on the Marlins, new Marlins television broadcast. The Atlanta Braves were one of those few teams that was under the FanDuel Sports Network Main Street Sports deal that decided they wanted to sort of take their ball and go home and do it their own way. The Braves making a very big announcement, Simon. They're going to start their own network. Still could be produced in a number of different ways, but they want to sell their own advertising and do what the Texas Rangers did a couple of years ago.
They want to do it all, Craig. It's going to be called Braves Vision. It's 140-plus games. The games will run on a package of cable services, cable channels from cable operators around the Southeast, and also on smart TV sets, smart devices, and bundles like Free Live Sports or Local Now. There'll be pregame, postgame programming. There'll be interstitials, other things as well. Some games, by the way, will go over the air on Gray Media being one of the major broadcast stations around the country, over the Southeast. And incidentally, this may not be just baseball. There is talk in some of the sports media circles that the Braves are talking to the Atlanta Hawks, they're talking to the SEC, they're talking to others to make this maybe a year-round regional sports network. So keep your eye on this. This may be the beginning of what Major League Baseball teams breaking out of Major League Sports will do to stay around, not just for baseball, but beyond baseball.
Thanks for coming on, Simon. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
One check, one stroke of a pen, $43 million that you now have to spend in free agency. Ain't it fun?
Yeah, you take the money out of the left pocket, you put it in the right pocket, basically, Donnie. But you also free up the ability to be able to sign other players. Nobody did this better than the Patriots and Tom Brady in his career, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
George, Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time now to check in at the G2E conference. Brady Cannon sits down with Mark Phillips. He's the founder and CEO of Are You Watching This? It's an interesting conversation because we've all been there before, trying to figure out how to watch a sporting event. Mark's company shows you exactly how.
Welcome back to Inside G2E right here. I'm Brady Cannon, and I am now joined by my friend Mark Phillip. He is the CEO and founder of MetaBet. And what I remember, I was lucky enough to speak with Mark last year. I remember his parent company that he created called Are You Watching This? And, Mark, welcome back. First of all, great to see you again. I told you what's so fascinating about spending the week here at G2E is meeting so many people that are involved in so many different areas of this global gaming industry that we all enjoy and love so much. And here you are, taking that piece in taverns and bars and sports bars and casinos and whatever about Are You Watching This? And MetaBet, and there's so much more to it. Obviously, you're the expert. I'm not. I'm just the announcer. Tell us about what it means.
Sure. So we started a company called Are You Watching This back in 2006. Remember Boise State, Oklahoma, and the Fiesta Bowl? That was our first alert that, hey, something exciting is happening.
Right.
So our system finds these great games in real time, whether it's 2006 or my Yankees staving off defeat last night. We find those great games. We help people figure out how to watch. And then our MetaBet brand helps you figure out the best way to bet, the most compelling wager for any given moment.
And figure out a way to watch. What do you mean by that?
Any sports fan has torn their hair out at some point trying to figure out how in the world do I watch this game? Do I need rabbit ears, cable? Do I have to go to the sports bar, Peacock, Paramount? We monitor all of that, aggregate it, tidy it up, so you can just say, I want to watch the Yankees, and we'll deliver you to the right broadcast.
And it seems that dilemma is probably bigger now than ever.
Absolutely.
It used to be channel 1, 2, and 3, and now there's channel 1000, right?
Sports discovery has changed a little bit because for me, high school in the 90s, you would just go through the cycle. And I knew where to find things. I knew the Mets were on 9. I knew the Yankees were on 11. But you don't have that flipping through the channels anymore. Part of that is, even if you're a YouTube TV or a Sling customer, you don't have channel numbers. You just have infinite choice.
Right.
And so we rely a lot on algorithms for better or for worse.
Okay.
But discovery has changed. It's very different now than when you and I were younger.
Tell us about, Are You Watching, or, how to find... let's just kind of get this onto a ground floor level.
Yeah.
You walk into a casino or whatever. Where do we stumble across your company?
Sure. So we're B2B. So often we're the guy behind the guy.
Okay.
And so let's say you download the Fox Sports app. And you get an alert saying a game is good. Here's how to watch. That's powered by us.
Okay.
So people interact with our data in lots of ways. Some very subtle, some very overt. But our brand name is always behind the scenes. There's a lot more we'd love to do in sports books and casinos. Still working on it.
And that's why you're here, right?
That's why I'm here.
All right, so you had a very fancy, catchy title for what you called this again. What was it, interactive analytics or something?
Sports excitement analytics.
Excitement analytics, I love that. And how does that incorporate the sports betting, the gaming piece into the viewing?
Sure. I like to say we have 3 silos: curation, discovery, and monetization. Curation is, what game do I watch? What's the best game? As we move into November next month, there's an average of 134 games each day.
Wow.
For the month. Discoveries, how do I watch it?
Yeah.
Peacock, Paramount, Apple TV. Just saw a headline this morning that Apple might be announcing rights to F1 next year.
Okay.
That would be massive. But then you get into monetization. And from there, for us, it started with, what is the right bet to layer on for this given bit of content, for this game someone's about to watch? If it's off season, maybe it's a future. If it's in season, maybe it's a game line. If it's in game, maybe it's a prop. But I live in Texas. I shouldn't be served a gambling prompt. Maybe I should be served an apparel prompt, or a ticketing prompt,
Very
or
cool.
a streaming prompt.
Yeah.
Gambling is
so it's
really,
like region specific.
Exactly. If I'm overseas, let me stream it if I can. Let me buy a jersey, but don't sell me a ticket because I'm not going to buy it. So understanding all of the different ways that people can interact and be engaged by live sport, and finding the right CTA for the right person.
There he is, folks. Mark Phillip. He's the next wave in sports television gaming. I love it. Great talking to you every year, man.
Always fun,
Congratulations on the progress we've made since we last met.
I appreciate it, Brady.
All right. He is Mark Phillip, the CEO and founder of MetaBet. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
One check, one stroke of a pen, $43 million that you now have to spend in free agency. Ain't it fun?
Yeah, you take the money out of the left pocket, you put it in the right pocket, basically, Donnie. But you also free up the ability to be able to sign other players. Nobody did this better than the Patriots and Tom Brady in his career, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
George Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on 3 like that, can you?
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The World Baseball Classic begins next week, and all the players and all the squads are getting ready to head to their destinations because they got to get ready for this big tournament that begins in Arizona and in Florida and naturally all across the world. Let's bring in Daniel Alvarez from El Extra Base, who's covering this, of course, from a very big global landscape. He follows Team Venezuela very closely and carefully, but follows all the teams as well. Daniel, great to have you here on NewsWire. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Craig. Always exciting to be here with you, and always exciting to cover the World Baseball Classic. It's a fantastic tournament, and I just can't wait for the tournament to start.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and I think we've gotten a lot of the paperwork out of the way at this point. There was just so much discussion about who's going to be in, who's not going to be in, insurance, and all that other stuff. Now we can just get down to the game. So I would ask you this year, Daniel, going into this, it obviously has more hype and better players than ever before. What is your view on the overall pools, where they're playing these games, and who do you think has the best chance to emerge from all of this when it's all over with?
Well, I think it's fantastic, as you mentioned, better players than ever before, and especially on the U.S. side, I've been noticing enthusiasm among players in all levels and all teams because they want to be part of it. And obviously what happened in 2017 had a lot to do with it. What happened in 2023 and that final where we saw Mike Trout facing Shohei Ohtani obviously gave the players more motivation to say yes to Mark DeRosa's calls over the offseason and the previous months to participate. And obviously that's creating a lot of hype. And you also see that in other teams, other nationalities. Obviously, when you think about the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or Venezuela, there's always that national pride, and what they've done in Caribbean Series or other tournaments before obviously helped create that. But this is something different. And when we see the rosters, it's impossible not to think that obviously the United States, Japan, the current champions, that they have won the championship 3 times, the Dominican Republic and Venezuela are the strongest teams. But we also know that once the pool play happens, it's only one elimination game that they have to play and win, and anything can happen in those games. I mean, in 2023, we saw Mexico being just 3 outs away from beating Japan, and then obviously they came back, but that Mexican team was really close. So I think it's a wonderful competition, and although we have 4 teams that are the favorites, I think obviously anything can happen.
Yeah, I would agree, and it feels like once they get to the knockout round, it feels a lot like college basketball in the NCAA tournament, where anything can happen. Doesn't matter if you're a favorite or an underdog, a good pitching performance can take you all the way. 8 advancing teams play single elimination quarterfinal games on March 13th and March 14th, and then the 4 quarterfinal winners play in Miami in semifinal games, the 15th and 16th, the championship game at Lone Depot Park on the 17th. Well, Daniel, of course, is going to be hoping and rooting a little bit, even though he's a journalist, for Venezuela. That's where he is from, and certainly has covered their sports and does it for El Extra Base at a very high level. So how does Team Venezuela stack up this year? It appears to me on paper the team is better than they were the last time, but I guess the issue is outside of Puerto Rico this time, Daniel, it feels like every team is better this time than last time, too, because so many players wanted to play in this.
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem with Venezuela is the pitching, and especially the pitchers that will not be there with the team, with Jose Alvarado having insurance issues, Jesus Luzardo choosing just to participate after the pool play and not knowing for sure if it's going to be the quarterfinals, and then who knows what happens next. I think the offense is one of the best offenses in the tournament, 1 through 9, and with the depth that they have on the bench as well, they can do damage at any given point in the game, and any batter can give you a hard time. And I think that's why this team is better probably than the ones in previous tournaments, even though those had Miguel Cabrera or Victor Martinez. I think this team offensively is the best one that they've had on paper, but they're going to have a tough time building, especially that bridge between starts with Ranger Suarez or Eduardo Rodriguez or Kader Montero to give the ball to Eduardo Basardo and Daniel Palencia, who both had breakout seasons in 2025.
Yeah, and again, you get to this time, I mean, the major league teams are watching closely to make sure these guys aren't throwing 120 pitches and going 9 innings, and Daniel's point is correct. Team USA, Team Japan, and Dominican Republic even with a little bit of a stronger bullpen there, but the offense is great. Let's talk about Ronald Acuna Jr., who, if he's not the very best player in baseball, he's certainly in that Ohtani conversation and Aaron Judge conversation. He has opted to play this year in the World Baseball Classic, and so that gives Team Venezuela a dynamic that very few teams have outside of those 2 favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronald Acuna, we talked to him last week in Northport, where the Braves have their spring training facilities, and he's just so excited, and he's so locked in, and he, compared to the offseason previous to that 2023 World Baseball Classic, he worked out differently, both physically and mentally as well, and I feel like he's more prepared and mature to face this tournament, because in 23 he really struggled, especially in pool play. He had a good game against the US, but unfortunately for Venezuela that was too late. It was after the Trey Turner Grand Slam happened. But Ronald, I see him different this year, and he's very excited for the tournament for 2 reasons. Number one, obviously representing Venezuela, but number 2, remember that after the tournament in 2023, he had that 40-70 season that was obviously historic, and where he won National League MVP unanimously. So he believes that this tournament will also help him get back to that MVP type form. So obviously that's something that we're going to have to watch closely this year.
Yeah, and Team Venezuela, by the way, for those of you from a betting perspective, they are plus 850 to win the World Baseball Classic. Shorter odds for the Dominican Republic, shorter odds for Japan, and of course the U.S. is the slight favorite. Before we get to some of the other players on the other teams, I do want to mention one thing. Miguel Cabrera not playing in the World Baseball Classic, but he is a coach on the World Baseball Classic team, and so that's a huge get for him to be in the dugout. I know generally speaking, everyone thought when he retired that would be it. You wouldn't see him. He'd be watching his kids or on a beach somewhere, but here he is back in a uniform again.
Yeah, he's just so excited to be there, and I asked him last year, hey, you want to be part of there? He's like, I don't care if I'm the water boy. I just want to be with the team. He plays the most. He played in every single tournament since its creation, and it's going to be weird for him not to be in uniform, playing active on the field. But he's just so excited to be there, and every player I've talked to, obviously, is dreaming about this, because it's not only Miggy. It's Cabrera, Victor Martinez, Johan Santana as the pitching coach. So when I see the coaching staff, I'm like, man, I wish these guys were still playing because it would be so good for the team. Right. So yeah, they're all excited because they all grew up watching them and having them as coaches. It's really special for them.
I hope we get to catch up before it all begins, but putting on your journalism hat here, do you think it is Team USA's to lose here? Because, Daniel, they're not that big a favorite here at minus 105. It sort of tells me that this is wide open.
It is wide open. I would honestly, Craig, have the Dominicans over the U.S. Because of just the lineup and the flamethrowers that they have in the rotation and in the bullpen as well. I think they're really close. Obviously, it's probably a U.S. to lose, but I really feel that this Dominican team can do something special.
All right. So, Daniel, when does the first World Baseball Classic games begin? It's next week, correct?
It's next week, March 4th, my birthday. You're going to have the Asia games, but then March 5th, the other teams start playing. And then March 6th, you're going to have all teams playing that day. Obviously, big day for Lone Depot Park and also the pool playing in Houston as well.
Right around the corner. And check out El Extra Base for all of your coverage on the World Baseball Classic. Daniel, great to catch up with you. And I know, as always, I'll see you at the ballpark soon. Thanks for coming on.
For sure. Thank you so much, Craig.
And we'll bring Daniel back throughout the World Baseball Classic to get his opinions on the games. And we'll be back with more NewsWire right after this. Don't go away.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
One check, one stroke of a pen, $43 million that you now have to spend in free agency. Ain't it fun?
Yeah, you take the money out of the left pocket, you put it in the right pocket, basically, Donnie. But you also free up the ability to be able to sign other players. Nobody did this better than the Patriots and Tom Brady in his career, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
George Rutschman is an interesting one here. I mean, this was somebody that we were told was going to be a superstar. I feel like we've done this now with back-to-back young catchers on Baltimore that they've taken. They've taken Matt Wieters. Remember when they took him super high and everyone thought he was the second coming? Then they took Adley Rutschman. I guess the good news is they have Sam Basallo, who's supposed to be fantastic too, but can't whiff on three like that, can you?
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to see Brady Cannon here with us here on the show as we get ready for a golf tournament in my neck of the woods, the Cognizant Classic, which is coming up starting tomorrow. And Brady's going to, of course, try to hit a long shot for us. I mean, before we go to that, let's go back to last week, Brady. I mean, honestly, 100 to 1. I mean, really, 100 to 1. That's the guy who won. I know it was like I think may have closed at like 80 to 1. But we are talking about a historic upset and underdogs winning these tournaments at an encompassing rate that I have not seen in a long time. I said that last year. It's even crazier this time around.
Well, I think to begin the West Coast swing, we had Chris Gotterup win twice. We had Scotty at the American Express. But Riviera was certainly an outlier with Jacob Bridgman. And like you say, 80-1. Now, Rory was right there. Adam Scott was right there. But I mean, this kid is definitely on the up and up. And I didn't even really know that he had graduated into signature event status. And then, of course, I saw him the week prior at Pebble Beach, where it really kind of unraveled for him on the 18th hole. But he bounced right back, got his first ever. I mean, you think about the moment for the kid, and he almost blew it on the putt at the very end, had a 20-foot putt, needed 2 putts to get home and win, and left it about 3.5 feet short. And I was like, oh my goodness, don't mess this up. He didn't. Gets his first ever PGA Tour win at Riviera Country Club, at the Genesis, signature event hosted by Tiger Woods. Pretty cool. So good for him. And of course, he withdrew this week from the Cognizant to celebrate, I imagine, a little bit. But yeah, we're out to kick things off in your neck of the woods for the Florida swing. We shift from Poa annua and Kikuyu, Craig, to Bermuda grass and palm trees. So.
Yeah, and I definitely was looking at that grass last week to see if we were going to come out on top with that one. But honestly, I mean, I did see somebody post that they had Bridgman at 80-1 or 100-1, but that was, arguably to me the biggest upset on the golf course that I've seen in years. So we're not going to try that again this week. But what we are going to do,
Minwoo Lee came close for us. He just had one bad day and then rallied again on Sunday, finished 12th. But he's a guy to look out for. He's really playing well.
All right. So on the tour this week, I'm going to take a look at it here because I took a quick look before the show. But I noticed that everyone seems to be waiting for next week's tournament. The Cognizant used to be, the biggest tournament here in South Florida. I mean, it just used to be, and then they would go to Doral and back, but that's all gone now. So, naturally, we're getting a few names of people that we're familiar with here. Ryan Gerard, he's 16-1. Shea Lowry, everyone's heard of him. But honestly, if you're ever going to nail a long shot, this may be the week to do it. You're not going to get the same odds because, again, you don't have Scotty here, and you don't have Rory, and you don't have Xander and some of the others. But what do you make of this tournament? And I think in South Florida, honestly, Brady, we're hoping that this tournament stays alive at this point because that Florida swing has changed so much.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the way the Cognizant gets slotted into the schedule. You have 2 consecutive signature events in Pebble Beach and Riviera, and then we have another 2 consecutive signature events coming up with the Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill in Orlando, and of course the Players Championship in Ponte Vedra Beach. And now sandwiched in between, you have the Cognizant. So you can't really blame these top players in the world who are going to be playing in 4 out of the next 5 weeks, if not, 5 out of the 6 or what have you. And of course you have the Masters coming up. So it's understandable that these guys are taking a break. And unfortunately the Cognizant takes a real hit. This is a big boy golf course, PGA National. You go back in the day, they've done a couple of little changes here to the golf course, Craig, that have caused really major differences in the scoring. You go back into the day when, Padraig Harrington and Ernie Els and Rory were winning this thing. Gary Woodland, Shane Lowry's been knocking on the door a couple times. They were barely cracking double digits under par for a winning score. Now it's become, no, I wouldn't call it a birdie fest, but it's getting close. Jake Knapp opened with a 59 last year in the opening round. So we're rooting for some wind. This golf course and this tournament used to really play very difficult. The Bear Trap, of course, 15, 16, and 17, all over water, 15 holes with water here at PGA National. So the wind is expected to be about 10 to 15 miles an hour. If it gets closer to 20 or 25 with some gusts and stuff, this is going to be very difficult this week.
I think so. And let's take a look at some winners potentially here, Brady. And again, I mean, these are, they're still the greatest golfers in the world. I don't want to take anything away from that. But when you're picking somebody to win this week, you have to have a specific strategy. So I would ask you of that.
Yeah, I think it's all about ball striking and accuracy this week. You know, I mentioned there's been some changes to the golf course, but I don't believe it's necessarily changed the formula for winning here. The fairways are relatively narrow. The greens are large. You've got to get it close to the hole. Hole proximity from about 150 yards or more is very important here. A lot of sand bunkers. I mentioned the water. You can't be, faking it out there and being loosey goosey with the irons because of the wind and the water. You've got to be spot on and striking the ball purely. And so that's really the formula I followed. You know Daniel Berger, a Florida State Seminole, who's been very successful here over the years. I took a shot with him. I think he could be ready to win again. We went through that period of injury on the tour. I think he could be all the way back, and no better place than right here in Palm Beach Gardens, where he is very familiar and has done well before. I went with Berger, and then also in that 40-1 range, another ball striker, accuracy guy, Aaron Rai, and then Hao Tong Lee, who we jumped on a few weeks ago in Phoenix. Yeah. He's been playing really, really well. He's in the neighborhood of 45 or 50-1, and then some longer bombs like you allude to. We don't have those big names in the field, so we're expecting, a 40, 50, 60-1 shot probably to take it home this week. I went with Emiliano Grillo, I should say, Jordan Smith, and then Mackenzie Hughes, the Canadian, all those guys in the neighborhood of 60, 70, 80-1. So we'll see if we can land on one correctly this week.
Yeah, Rai was red hot last week at the beginning, and then fell a little bit. But maybe he could be a name to keep an eye on this week. Brady, thanks again for coming on. We'll catch up next week.
You bet. Enjoy the Honda or the Cognizant, whatever.
Whatever they're calling it. All right, we'll wrap it up with some last things.
You have we don't know we're going to play an arbitration for our top pitcher in school ball. He gets the $30 million. You go and get Valdez, who's 32 years old, and you pay 3 years, $115. Now you have a legitimate 1-2 punch and still have Flaherty in that lineup as well. If you're looking at a move singularly that I didn't expect to happen here and loved it, Detroit's move to get Framber Valdez, sensational for me.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Expectations were big for this team coming into this season. They've struggled to live up to them. When you think about the 4 losses for Purdue, they've really felt ugly. Iowa State smashed this team in their building. They dropped the game to UCLA and followed it up by losing at home to Illinois.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on the island. You saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. On tomorrow's show, you'll want to check in because we're going to take another look at spring training. In fact, tomorrow we'll go out to the Cactus League and get our 2026 preview of the Kansas City Royals. So make sure you tune into tomorrow's show for that. All right, with the new golf tournament starting up tomorrow, it looks like the PGA Tour wants some clarity on whether or not Tiger Woods is going to be part of them in the future. We'll get to that. Also, a potential Heisman Trophy Award winner for next year, is changing his number, wants some attention, obviously. And some unfortunate news for DraftKings. It looks like they're making some changes to some employees as well. We'll get to some news stories and some fun items here as we wrap it up with some last licks. Despite all of the injuries to Tiger Woods over the past, let's say, 10, 15 years, Woods has always found his way back onto the golf course, whether it's been the Masters or the U.S. Open, seemingly at least trying to participate in some different events despite all of the lower leg and half injuries that he's had. Unfortunately, after this latest surgery that Tiger Woods had at the end of 2025, he pretty much said that he would not be able to play in almost any of the tournaments this coming year in 2026. The PGA Tour needs some clarity from Tiger because, of course, we have the Ryder Cup and we have the Tour coming up with some of the bigger events. They're asking Woods to make a decision as to whether or not he's going to return to the PGA Tour and even participate in some of the bigger events, including the Ryder Cup later this year. Now, as far as Tiger is concerned, it is a matter of health. He's talked about having to walk up and down the course, walking 18, not something that he can do for 4 straight days. Really unfortunate to arguably the greatest golfer or the second best or the third best golfer, depending on how you feel about Arnie or Jack or any of those. It's better when Tiger is participating, but really health does play a major factor in his future. And I'm going to guess by next month, which is when they want some sort of clarity, we'll find out whether or not Tiger Woods, honestly, will ever play the PGA Tour again. Could be a big announcement coming. Okay, going into next season, it's very apparent who wants to win the Heisman Trophy. And his name is Malachi Toney. Do you remember him playing in the national championship game this past year? He's one of the very few players, by the way, returning to college football from last year. Now, we did find out that Mississippi will have their quarterback Trinidad Chambliss coming back, and he probably will end up being the favorite to win the Heisman next year. Not Arch Manning. It could be this guy. Malachi Toney has said, you know what? I want to be number 1. I'm going to change my jersey to number 1. Yes, he is back at the University of Miami. Quarterback situation may be a little bit unclear, but in terms of skill position players going into the 2026 college football season, which begins in 6 months, Toney has decided I am going to wear number 1 going into next year. Now, a lot of people say that when you wear number 1 on a field in sports, you immediately have the target on your back, so you have to have confidence that you're great. Toney does not lack any confidence. He goes from number 10 to number 1, and we'll see if he ends up number 1 in college football next season. University of Miami finished, of course, coming up short in the national championship game. All right, well, unfortunately, ending the story here with just something that we're seeing quite a bit amongst the sports betting operators. DraftKings announces they are restructuring some roles, resulting in layoffs. Sports betting giant tightens operations, growing competition from prediction markets and AI. And naturally speaking, what is honestly going on with some of the advertising with some of these companies too, DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, and all the others, is prediction markets have taken over. They are tax-free at this point, operating without any regulation, and companies like FanDuel and DraftKings have been waiting to get legalized sports betting in California and Texas and some other states. There are only about 15, 20 states that don't have legalized gambling, Georgia being another one of those. And until that happens, it just seems as though they don't need the same amount of employees that they've had because they're not generating the same amount of new clients coming in to their company. So obviously hate to see this in our industry, in the sports betting industry, but definitely a story to watch in the future to see if prediction markets indeed are the next wave of predictions and sports betting. But if they do go away, DraftKings may need their employees back when California and inevitably Texas get legalized sports betting in their state. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks to our great guests here on the program, including Brady Cannon and Daniel Alvarez and Gilbert McGregor, and of course, Sam McQuillan and Simon Applebaum. Great guests here on our program today. And for more information on all of our shows, you can download the SportsGrid app, which is free to download. Just take out your phone and scan this QR code, which Luke is going to throw up on your screen right there. He's not going to throw up. He's going to throw that up on your screen. Mad at me for that little comment, but that's okay. iOS and Android SportsGrid app completely free. That'll do it for our show today. Thanks again to Luke and to Frank. I'm Craig Mish. Stay warm out there if you're still dealing with the snow. I'll be back with you another edition of NewsWire tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.